Coming up today on Zestology, it's another personal update from me as I stroll around in a beautiful sun-drenched London. I'll be talking about my book and how that's going and the marketing on Amazon for that. Forthcoming podcast episodes, got some very exciting podcasts that I've recorded and am recording. What's been going on since I came back from Thailand and a lot more. Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an author, presenter at Sky Sports, and years ago I went to the jungle and got ill. Very ill. So this is my podcast adventure to find more energy. It's packed with biohacking, science, health tech, supplements, and some of the most well-known experts on the planet.
This is something I spent 4 months of my life doing with electrodes glued to my head so that you can do a lifetime worth of meditation.
Decide what you don't give a fuck about, which is something you don't care about.
Some of it gets quite out there.
I had some stem cells sent up to my house that I had stored, and then I injected myself with mannitol.
And we even hack hangovers.
Alcohol is poisonous. So is water and oxygen in the wrong dosage.
So that's my podcast, Zestology. Live life with energy, vitality, and motivation. Yes, hello again. Welcome back to Zestology. Since the start of the year, I've been doing these personal update podcasts and enjoying them a lot, actually. And, well, it's not just that I've been enjoying them. I've been getting some nice feedback and people saying that they're enjoying them as well. So today I am strolling around West London. And in fact, I'm sort of doing two things at once because I'm walking from my house about 20 minutes up to a coffee shop where I'm going to work this morning. And I'm recording a podcast at the same time. So what I've been trying to do in this personal update podcast is it's not about sort of dispensing wellness advice or telling you how to be living a life full of energy, vitality and motivation. It's more about documenting the journey, me telling you what's going on and trying to pull the veil back a little bit on what I do. So obviously I'm an author, I'm a podcaster, I'm a presenter and do all of those things to varying degrees every day. And it turns out it's quite interesting, apparently, to know about when I release the books, how I market them, the process of writing them, what resonates with people and what doesn't. And there are plenty of mistakes and experiments that go wrong on the journey. So today I'll be telling you a little bit more about my book, Beat Burnout, that I've been mentioning over the last few months. It's been out a few weeks now. And I'll give you a sales update on how that is going. Forthcoming episodes, I had a very exciting interview last night, so I'm going to tell you about that and when that's coming out. Plus I've got some live podcast episodes coming over the next few weeks, so we'll run through those. What's been going on since I got back from Thailand, aka the Thailand comedown? My Oura ring definitely thinks I should be living in Thailand, not the UK, so we'll cover that today. And then I'm going to look at what I'm working on next. A sort of wellness book accelerator idea that I'm mulling and some coaching as well. So let's start with my book, Beat Burnout. It's been out a couple of weeks now. The marketing is starting to crank into gear and there are various exciting stages when you bring out a book. The first is reading the completed manuscript, and that's great. And Beat Burnout was completed a couple of months ago. Then you get it formatted and it goes from just being a Google Doc to being something that looks pretty on the page. Then you bring it out and then you switch on the ads and people actually start to find it. And that's when it starts to get exciting. And that is really just starting to happen now. So even though I brought the book out a couple of months ago, or about maybe 6 weeks ago, and it was finished a couple of months ago, I'm only really starting to see the sales come in now. And I switched on some brand ads today. A few days ago. So Tony Wright and brand ads, that's 3 of my books, Stop Scrolling, Learn NLP and Beat Burnout. If you search for various things on Amazon, everything from sort of Mark Manson to how to get over burnout symptoms, you might see one of my brand ads at the top of the screen. You'll see the 3 coral covered book covers with the big logo and a picture of me as well. And so switched them on in the last few days, switched the ads on in the last couple of weeks, starting to see the sales trickle in. And you just never know when you write a book. You just have no idea if it's going to resonate or not. And if I'm absolutely honest, of the 3 books I've brought out in this 30-day expert series, Stop Scrolling hasn't done as well as I thought it would. Learn NLP has done as well as I thought it would. And Beat Burnout is too early to tell, but I really hope so, because a lot of blood, sweat and tears has gone into it. It's mad, isn't it, that you can spend so long for no return writing a book, and you just don't know until it comes out what the demand is. So the sales update is that it's not exactly making much money yet, but I'm starting to see some good sales, but also, even more important than that, good reviews, people enjoying it and finding it useful. And that's when you sort of know, you sort of think, yeah, I'm doing something right. Mind you, the reviews for Stop Scrolling have been good as well, and it just hasn't sold as well. I don't know what it is about Stop Scrolling, but what I think it is that we've almost all of us have got a problem with scrolling, aka spending too much time on our devices. But we're not aware that that's the problem, or we don't want to give it up. So what it leads to is burnout, exhaustion, fatigue, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, and that's what we've got a problem with. It's just that we're not quite aware that the screen time is the problem. But to be quite honest, as you do anything in life, you get better at it. And when I look at Stop Scrolling and the experience of writing that book compared to the Burnout one that's just come out, I have got better as a writer as well. So I'm probably even more proud of the book that's just come out. So that's an update on Beat Burnout. It is available at all good bookstores, mostly online. If you go into your airport Smiths, it probably won't be there yet, but hopefully at some point in the future. But as you know, I'm sure you know this story if you follow me and listen to my podcast, but obviously I had 3 books published traditionally through Virgin Books, which is part of Random House, and I did actually have my books in bookshops at that point, and I made about 5p a book sale. You get an advance, but then after that you get very little. And they were published in 12 languages all over the world, so they still do quite well in Italy and in parts of China, I think. But yeah, it's a weird process. So you get the ego boost of having your book at the airport, but you don't make very much money. And then I set myself up as an indie publisher to publish my books and other people's books as well. And if you're ever interested in publishing a book, then let me know, because I might be able to help. But that process has been far more satisfying and gratifying, because now there's no advance, but I make 70% of every book sale, which is great. So Beat Burnout I think it's $4.99. I mean, it's not expensive, and it's $11.99 in paperback. And it's been a fun process bringing it out. And so you won't be able to get them in your airport probably, but you can get them in all good online bookstores, and you can get them in paperback all over the place as well, but you'll just order it online. So that is the book update. I'm walking up a hill now, so I might sound slightly more out of breath, but this is all good exercise. And strolling around, then it is 8:10 on a beautiful morning here in London. This is what spring is all about. It's been a long, cold spring since we got back from Thailand, but now it's all warming up. In fact, since I've mentioned Thailand, let's do that. What's been going on since we got back from Thailand, aka the Thailand comedown? I thought, because we've been out of the country for so long and we've missed the whole British winter, and as you know, we recorded loads of podcasts from there, it's going to be easy. We're going to come back, it's going to be spring, it's going to be great, we're going to be feeling good about life, and we won't in any way miss Thailand, and that's not been the case. It's been a physical adjustment to go from 34 degree heat to 10 degree heat on a daily basis. I like warm weather. And it's not just the weather that's been the adjustment, actually. That's been a part of it, but the food is great out there, the lifestyle is great. Me and my son would go swimming every single day, and if it's raining, when I pick him up from nursery here, well, we just go indoors. And that is probably the thing I've found the hardest. It has been quite an adjustment, more than I thought. And of course, I've felt extremely ungrateful. And it's very much first world problems, isn't it, to complain about the weather when you've spent 3 months in Thailand. And I'm aware of that. I'm aware that I've been lucky, and we are living a great life, and we're very lucky to have done that. But my Oura ring, I made reference to this briefly at the start of the podcast. I checked my Oura Ring stats just before I started recording this podcast, and it is astonishing how much my Oura Ring thinks I should be living in Thailand, not London. Now, a lot of people who listen to this podcast will be wearing an Oura Ring or will be aware of what it is, but these are a little ring that you wear on your finger, and it measures all sorts of things, including heart rate variability, body temperature, respiratory rate, steps, exercise, recovery, sleep, deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep, all sorts. And I've been wearing one since 2018, so I started off wearing the first gen, the massive one that made you look pretty badass. And now it's quite discreet almost now. And even though I've been wearing it since 2018, since I got to Thailand, my stats went through the roof. In other words, my resting heart rate overnight was the lowest it had ever been by quite some different distance, which is a sign of good health. And my HRV, my heart rate variability, was the highest it's ever been by quite some distance. And it went up every month. So January it was the highest, February it beat the January, and March it beat February. So very much all-time highs, if you like. And heart rate variability is a signifier of good health because you want the variability in between heartbeats to be as much as possible. And researchers have found because humans need to be on alert to run away from the line at any point. If your heart is able to go from 0 to 1,000 very quickly, then that is a good thing. So you want your HRV to be high, and my HRV was super high. Then we get back, and literally from the day we get back, my heart rate variability starts to go down. And now it is exactly back where it was before I went away. How do you explain that? One of the things we said when we were out in Thailand was, and again, I'm not complaining, I'm sort of feeling very grateful for what we had out there. I'm just trying to figure this out because I want to be as healthy as possible. One of the things we said was, okay, we've got a lifestyle here where we spend loads of time outside, we pick up our son early, we do loads of stuff as a family. Let's keep all that going when we're in the UK. And to a certain extent, that is just not quite so possible. And to a certain extent, it is possible, but you just can't be asked. So if you wake up and it's raining and you drop your son at nursery, can you be bothered to walk 20 minutes to a coffee shop to work, or are you just going to do it in your kitchen? And then beyond that, I just can't explain it, except to say that the change of scene suited me very, very well. So my Oura Ring thinks I should be in Thailand, and certainly I haven't felt quite as, this podcast is all about energy and vitality, and I haven't felt quite as full of energy. That said, there are certain aspects to being at home that I have enjoyed very, very much indeed. I mentioned in the last podcast we had a Coronation Street party, and our whole little community where we live is just so delightful. You cannot walk down the street without seeing people you know, chatting to friends, meeting slightly yappy dogs. It's just an amazing place to live, and we're very, very lucky. And obviously we've got all our family and friends around us. It hasn't all been bad since we've been back. In fact, I sort of think, God, if we ever moved anywhere else again, there's no way we'd find somewhere as friendly and community-based as what it is now. I haven't been to the playground with my son for the last couple of weeks without bumping into someone we know. And that's lovely, because he gets someone to play with, and so do I. So it's a good spot where we are. But by contrast to Thailand, that was something quite special. And so aren't we lucky to have tried it all out? And that's one of the great things of being a full-time witterer, author, whatever you want to call me, in that I get to do that sort of thing. And so does my wife. Interrupting this podcast for one moment to remind you that my podcast partners today are BiOptimizers and Magnesium Breakthrough. If you would like a shortcut to better sleep, more energy, and a calmer, more stable mood, and who wouldn't want that, then you need to make sure you're supplementing with magnesium daily, but not any magnesium, because about 75% of us are magnesium deficient, but there are actually 7 unique forms of magnesium. You need to get all of them if you want to experience its calming, health-enhancing effects. That is why I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough by BiOptimizers. And I took one probably about an hour ago. I take it twice a day sometimes, maybe once so far today, but often twice a day. It's the only organic, that's important, full spectrum magnesium supplement that includes 7 unique forms of magnesium. And, I've been partnering with BiOptimizers for a couple of years now, and they've had a couple of months off the podcast, and they are now back, and I'm very pleased about that. So you can go to magbreakthrough.com/zestology. And even when they weren't partnering with me, I was still taking Magnesium Breakthrough. Go to magbreakthrough.com/zestology, and you can get a discount if you use Zestology10. And that works worldwide as well. If you're in the UK, you can go to the UK BiOptimizers site and use that same discount code, Zestology10. So better sleep, more energy, stronger bones, healthier blood pressure. For me, it helps me sleep at night and relax, and definitely get less inflamed as well. Use the code Zestology10 at the website magbreakthrough.com/zestology. Now back to the show. Let's move from that then to forthcoming episodes and an update on what's going on, because coming up over the next few weeks, I've got some very exciting podcast episodes. I will be at Glastonbury and I will be at Health Optimization Summit. And what I'm going to try and do both those weeks is record a podcast on the weekend itself. So it comes out on the Monday straight after the event, which takes a bit of planning, to be quite honest, especially at Glastonbury, where really I'm there for fun. It's not a work trip, it's a fun trip. But I'm still going to do that, because I think if you record a podcast at Glastonbury but it doesn't come out until January 2024, it sort of loses the vibe. It needs to be straight afterwards. So if you weren't there, you can plug into what it was like. Same for the Health Optimization Summit, which I'm hosting on the main stage. I'm presenting out on the Saturday morning, and then I think the Saturday afternoon I'll record a podcast, I'll stroll about a bit, I'll chat to some people and get a flavour of it. And then from there, we can bring the podcast out and be there on the scene. So those 2 podcasts are coming out fairly shortly. Another thing which is coming out is my interview with Arthur C. Brooks, which I did last night. Now, he wrote the book From Strength to Strength, which has been a huge bestseller. And when we were chatting last night, he revealed that his next project, he's now so big that Oprah Winfrey got in touch with him and said, do you want to write a book together? So he spent the last year or so with Oprah, and they've basically been writing a book of, I think it's sort of life advice. I don't really know, but it's with Oprah anyway. That gives you a flavour of how big he is. And Arthur C. Brooks' whole thing in his book From Strength to Strength is all about what you do in the second part of your life. It is a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. It's all about basically not trying to cling on to past glories until you're 80 years old, because your sharpness, your cognitive intelligence and your physical capabilities start to decline earlier than you think. That was quite a wake-up call for me. I was like, oh God, what I'm like in my 40s and already my abilities are declining. But he says, if you switch to what he calls crystallized intelligence, then right up until you die, you will be relevant and you will have something to offer other people. And what that means is a sort of a shift in mindset and skills, whereby you're offering more to your community, to the people around you. It's more of a mentor role, it's more of an advice role, it's more of a experience role, rather than desperately keeping up on the treadmill. And his book, I would say his book is for success addicts. And I know there's a lot of those listening to this podcast. So if you define yourself as a success addict or someone in the middle part of your life or coming into that, then I think you'd enjoy his book. And as I say, I approached him and was very lucky to interview him last night, and that's coming out in the podcast soon, and there's a lot to talk about. There's a slightly awkward moment at the end of the podcast. He's a lovely, lovely chap, and we got on so well. There was a slightly awkward moment at the end of the podcast where Arthur asked how many downloads I get. And I told him, but I made a mistake. And I told him the amount of downloads that we have per day rather than the amount of downloads per episode. And he looked very slightly disappointed. And I don't think, it was almost imperceptible. And he himself is definitely not a success addict, and he might even dispute this version of events. And then I sort of was trying to backtrack, and I was like, oh no, that's actually just per day, per episode it's more, but thanks for coming on the podcast. Honestly, it wasn't a waste of your time. Oh dear, it was all slightly awkward. So hopefully he's not complaining to his publicist, why did I do that podcast that only has 2 listeners? But anyway, I mean, I still think it's not a bad number of people listening to the podcast, but the number is slightly more impressive per podcast than it is per day, that's all. Anyway, that was Arthur C. Brooks, which is coming out very, very soon on Zestology. And the other podcast which is coming out is my interview with Loose Women presenter Sunetra Sarkar, or rather, should I say, her interview with me. So I went on Sunetra's podcast, and that was a great experience. It was one of those ones where it was in person. So a lot of the podcasts that I used to do were in person. Probably 60% used to be face-to-face and 40% used to be on Zoom, and now it's the other way around. And this was one that we did in person and made a firm friendship at the same time. We're actually meeting up this week for a coffee as well. And you'll have probably seen her on Brookside and on Loose Women, and she was at the Royal Shakespeare Company last year, and she does so much now. And she's very charismatic and into wellness and biohacking. So that is next week's podcast. Now, before we go, I can't let this opportunity go. I'm now walking around a nice little green, about 20 minutes walk away from where I am, and I'm just going to stay here for a little bit because it is rush hour. There's a lot of traffic on 3 sides around. I think it'd be nice just to record the rest of the podcast here. Can't let you go without telling you some of the things that I'm working on next. So, firstly, I'm bringing out another book in the 30-day expert series, and that is going to be on histamine intolerance. And I've been working quite hard on that, and it's quite a complicated book to write because, as you know, histamine intolerance is something I'm very interested in, and yet I'm a journalist. I am not a histamine sort of practitioner where I diagnose or I prescribe treatment. Therefore, I'm treading a fine line in this podcast between only delivering what I've sort of uncovered with my journalistic research, and then when we talk about the origins of histamine intolerance or ways that you can sort of like figure out if you've got it yourself, I'm employing a series of very high-level fact checkers, which is costing me a lot of money to help me go through it, and proofreaders as well. So that's good, and that's going to be coming out. That's going to be the 4th book in the 30-day expert series, and that hopefully will be out in the next few months. And I'm looking forward to that. And then I've been working on a number of website ideas based around helping other people publish their books. So the sort of working title for this is something along the lines of a wellness book accelerator, whereby I speak to so many people that really want to write a book or have a book or have an idea for a book, and they don't need help with writing it. Nobody needs help with writing a book. You can do that, although I will provide help with structure, readability, layout, developmental editing and copy editing. But what I'm thinking is it's either a course or it's just a one-to-one program where I hold people's hand through the whole process. It's going to be a premium product. It's not going to be particularly cheap because, you know, it's obviously going to take some amount of my time. But what I'm keen to do is I'm keen to help people get their books out there, because I feel I know what it takes now to bring out a bestseller. And there are loads of steps. Someone recently asked me if I would have a look at their Amazon advertising account, and I think they were fairly shocked at just how well I know my way around it. And I was fairly shocked at how the supposed expert that looks after their advertising had not done some basic stuff which I consider to be stuff that I would love to pass on to people who bring out their book. So if this is a good idea, then let me know. I mean, contact me through the website. I would love to hear what you think. Some sort of wellness book accelerator or wellness book coach, whereby you follow the steps, you get the book written, you get it edited, and you do the same process as I do. Because once you've got it written, and got it edited, then you want to format it nicely, and you have to format it 2 different ways. You have to format it in the Kindle way and the paperback way. So that's sort of slightly complicated. Then you have to decide what size your book is going to be, what the cover's going to look at, whether it's going to be a glossy or a matte cover, where you're going to release it. Probably going to release it all over the world. What price you're going to price it at. You're going to price it cheap or expensive. How expensive is the Kindle copy going to be, and how expensive is the paperback copy going to be? Are you going to do some fancy design stuff on your Amazon page, which is called A+ content? I would advise yes. Are you going to use Amazon advertising? Which countries are you going to use Amazon advertising in? If you don't use advertising, it's hard to get the word out about your book. It's just a fact of life. Once you've advertised for a while, then you'll search organically, and that'll be okay. But if you want people to find your book, then you've got to let them know about it somehow. And Amazon advertising is great for books for doing that. And then, of course, the very important thing is getting reviews. And I've got some great ideas on how to build a review team that love your work already and will help you with reviews, because without reviews, you're going to struggle to sell books. So all of that sort of thing. I know a lot of people in the wellness industry, having been in it myself for so many years. And I think one of the things that you struggle with a lot is getting the respect and the attention that you deserve. I know so many people who have studied for years as nutritionists or product formulators or whatever it might be, and they just don't quite get the attention and respect that they deserve. And I think that the way to address that is to have a best-selling book. Because books can do loads of stuff. They can be your bread and butter. For me, that is where I make most of my money, selling books. And it's great, and I love it. I spend a lot of time and attention on it every day. For other people, it's a sort of loss leader where you're not bringing out a book to make a best-selling 6-figure sum every year. You're bringing it out to tell the world about your ideas, to change a few people's lives, but also then take them from book reader to client. It's like a loss leader where you say, look, here's the authority I've got from my book. Here's your chance to read my book and see what I'm all about. And now, should we work together more deeply? So that is what I'm working through at the moment, and those are the ideas that I'm thinking about. I'm also still thinking about this NLP course that I thought about last time, and how that ties in with my coaching program. There may be some NLP elements in this wellness book generator, but there's 2 different strands of my business at the moment. One is I love writing books, and based on my neuro-linguistic programming skills, I'm carrying on writing them. And then I'm sort of zooming out big picture, and I'm saying, all right, well, what's the strategy for the next 5 years? What am I offering people beyond books? Because at the moment, it's, apart from the fact I do some NLP coaching with people, it's nothing. So I'm going to offer something more. And whether that is NLP coaching or a wellness book generator, I have no idea as yet, but it's fun finding out. As always, if you've got any thoughts on these potential ideas, I'd love to hear from you. And if you are interested in me publishing your wellness book, or not necessarily publishing, but helping you through these steps, then perhaps you can be a guinea pig for this project at a discount, and then you can provide some testimonials once it works, because I'm confident that it will. And actually, if you've got a book already, it can be quick that you get it out, but people just don't know that the process of being an indie author or an independent publisher or a self-published author is brilliant. And Amazon pass on 70% of all profits on Kindle and 60% of all profits on paperback. So it's such a different model to what it used to be. And that's why I publish other people now as well. I'm not really offering to publish people's books as such. I'm offering to show people through, because I have published some people's books, but it is a lot of work for me. And then I have to carve out the royalties. Every time someone buys their book, I have to pay them rather than pay myself. It's complicated. So what I'm really offering to do is accelerate your own book so that you set up yourself and you publish it and you keep all the royalties yourself, which is a much better model. I don't want to take your money once it's come out. I just want you to pay me well for teaching you how to do it. How's that? Oh, that's it for this podcast. I think we've probably done enough now. It's one of those podcasts where I do like doing these personal updates, but you sort of wonder if anyone's actually listening by this point. So I hope you are, and I hope it is of value. I am almost at the coffee shop destination now. So just to say thank you to my podcast partners who are Well Easy this month. For the first time, I have partnered on the podcast with Well Easy, the amazing online store that sells wellness products and brings them direct to your doorstep. I am such a big Well Easy fan. The average Well Easy customer saves 250 quid a year, and you want to be getting everything on there, because what it is it's basically wholesale prices. So nearly every product on there is 20% off. What I'm so pleased for the Well Easy guys is I've known them for maybe 2 or 3 years now. And when they brought it out, it was a good idea. Now it's a great idea because everything is so damn expensive. I mean, food is just unbelievably expensive in the shops now, and almost everybody I know is tightening their belts in some way. And that is, if you listen to that's where Well Easy comes in, because if you listen to this podcast, you're probably into the sort of wellness stuff anyway, aren't you? And therefore you'll be buying some of this stuff anyway, and you might be buying it, I don't know, on Amazon or on Ocado, or going into Whole Foods and buying it there. But if you use Well Easy, you'll get a discount on everything. If you use the code Zestology10, you'll get £10 off your first order. So that's nice. And they do free gifts pretty much every week. I'm not quite sure how they sustain that. I think they partner up with suppliers so you can test stuff. But we get free stuff every week with our order. You get free kombucha or a free Who chocolate or something like that. And you think, oh, this is great. I've got about 10 quid's worth of free stuff anyway. So use Zestology10 at Well Easy. I'm sorry if you're in the States, as Well Easy isn't available there yet, but I guess at some point. They're like the Thrive Market of the state. If you're in the States, you've got Thrive Market, right? And that's what Well Easy are doing in the UK. Use code Zestology10 for 10% off. And any questions, or if you can't make the discount code or anything else, then just let me know. Use your place. This podcast is also brought to you by Magnesium Breakthrough. My friends at Magnesium Breakthrough are back supporting the podcast once again. And if you use the code Zestology10 and you go to magbreakthrough.com/Zestology, you will get at least 10% off. In fact, you might get up to about 40% off if you buy in bulk. I'm a fan of buying in bulk. I buy a lot of things in bulk, and I would advise you buy magnesium in bulk as well. Look, it's a great magnesium product. I use it every day. And I went on a big walk at the weekend. I've been feeling a little bit achy. We did a 15-mile Pilgrim's Way walk in Canterbury with me and a few mates. And it was a lovely, relaxing walk. It wasn't too strenuous, but I still felt slightly stiff afterwards. So a bit of extra magnesium, and I feel good now, 3 days on. So go to magbreakthrough.com/Zestology. Use the code Zestology10 if you want to sleep better, be less achy, move well. And look, magnesium is like the sort of jack of all trades when it comes to supplements, isn't it? It's one of the supplements that almost everybody takes. And if you do take it, are you happy with the magnesium you've got? If so, stick with it. And if not, look up Magnesium Breakthrough. Use that code Zestology10. And that code works for all BiOptimizers supplements, which is excellent news. That is it for this podcast. Sunetra Sarkar is coming next week. And then we've got a series of live specials, including Glastonbury, the Health Optimization Summit. I'm also going to a book show called the Self-Publishing Show, which I don't think I'm going to record a live podcast from, simply because it's not very on message for Zestology. I sort of want to, because I went to that last year and it's great fun. And I met fun people, and I very much enjoyed hanging out there, and I learnt loads as well. But I'm just not quite sure it's relevant, so I might not do one there. But there will be Glastonbury and the Health Optimization Summit, and of course Arthur C. Brooks as well. Thanks for listening. See you next time.